I've been with my boyfriend for 11 years, since I was 15. His mother has hated me since the first day she met me. She hated me due to my ethnicity, Kosovan Albanian. She hated me due to my career. I work as a model, and she decided that makes me an empty-headed, vain, shallow person. Then when I told her I still planned to go to university alongside my career, she said I was doing it to impress my boyfriend. I've since left uni with a distinction, and her new reason to hate me is, I try too hard? She has also insisted I've cheated on him throughout our entire relationship, which is a ridiculous claim. I've never even kissed another man in my whole life. I have zero desire to cheat and never will. Late last year she attempted to void the insurance on my boyfriend's motorbikes. She tried to do this under my name so, hypothetically, when he was arrested for riding with no insurance and called his insurance company, I'd get the blame. After this happened, my boyfriend and I agreed to cut her out. However, it hasn't stuck. She left my boyfriend alone and respected his wishes for NC, but she's continued to contact and harass me. This leads to the last few weeks. My boyfriend works as a motorcycle test rider, and he got in an awful motorbike crash while working. As such, I now need to care for him. I'm okay with that, and I'm focusing on seeing it as an opportunity for us to get closer. It's been nice, honestly. However, his mother has been awful to me. She's called me litany of terms. From things as tame as stupid to things as awful as a nasty Serbian half-breed. I'm not Serbian, and she's well aware that calling a Kosovan a Serb is offensive. I tried to block her, so she started making new iMessage accounts and began to continuously harass me via those accounts. Then came Friday night. The police turned up at our door. I was pretty confused and was quickly told they were there to do a welfare check as they'd received multiple claims of horrific abuse I was apparently putting my poor boyfriend under. Obviously, they quickly discovered he was fine, albeit grumpy, and they left. I know for a fact it was his mother. Some of the details the police mentioned made that obvious. I'm now at a point where I've realized I literally cannot do this. I'm going to press charges against her for the insurance and harassment. It's a crime in the UK, and I'm likely going to sue her for damages. For the sake of my mental health, I need to do this. I don't want to be a victim, and she needs to be forced to stop. I have mentioned my intentions to her if she doesn't back off, and she's pretty much mocking me and saying I won't. I absolutely will. I just feel like this morally may make me an awful person. She's an idiot, I know this. However, she's old and miserable enough as is, and I feel like doing this may ruin whatever small amount of life she has left. It feels like it may be too far. I really don't know though, and I genuinely cannot be objective here. Would I be the idiot here if I did this? Not the idiot, but it's not quite clear what charges you want to press. It'd be hard to prove she maliciously reported abuse. People have a wide latitude for reporting concerns. Fraud for changing the insurance? Perhaps. More importantly, what is your BF doing about this? It's his mother. He really should be the one fighting on your behalf. I would be pissed at myself if they didn't defend me in this situation. Honestly, if things are as bad as you say, I would go NC and ask that my partner do the same. You can't reasonably expect the mother to change. She seems unhinged, but your boyfriend needs to step up. As a Croatian woman myself, you bet your butt that nasty Serbian half-breed comment would have been enough for me to sue her butt into oblivion and back. I don't have anything against Serbians personally, but there is no denying the history our countries share, recent history, really, and that her comment had ugly and terrible intent. Screw a restraining order, sue her for more. Terrible narcissistic idiots like her deserve a taste of their own medicine and consequences for their crappy actions, especially after 11 years. Not the idiot. If she's making you and your BF's life such a misery, then you need to at the very least take out a restraining order so she can be prosecuted if she doesn't leave you alone. The only way you will get peace, unfortunately, is for her to be charged so she can be held accountable for her actions. Honestly, the only person's opinion on this that matters is your BF and not randoms on here. If he's down with it, then that's all that matters. Carlos has been my yard guy for a little over 20 years now. Over that time, his yard business has been extremely successful and he makes a decent amount of money. He has a son, Danny, who is around the same age as my kids Mike and Anna. The kids knew each other growing up and would go to each other's birthday parties, but otherwise weren't super close. Anna and Danny ended up going to the same college, it's a popular one in the state, and eventually announced that they had started dating. Everyone was very excited, and we invited Carlos and his family over for our Christmas dinner that year. It went really well. After a couple of glasses of wine, however, my wife made a couple of jokes regarding our yard being cut for free now. Everyone was uncomfortable and I quickly shut that down and apologized, and I figured that would be the end of it. It has not been. Also, money is not the issue here. But my wife has a tendency to be frivolous in places where it matters and a bit of a cheapskate where it doesn't, and this has become the newest and most shocking instance. This came up every now and then for years until Anna and Danny announced their engagement. All of a sudden, it was like a dam had burst, and my wife became obsessed with the idea of getting free or discounted services, citing that they are now going to be family, and that family doesn't charge family. I finally told her that Danny might come into the family but that Carlos isn't our family, and it is perfectly fine for us to remain close customers to him. I've done absolutely everything I can to keep this away from Carlos, Danny, and Anna. It boiled over this morning when Carlos came over with Danny to do some extra tree cutting. We'd negotiated a rate and I had a check already written out. Danny knocked on the door when he was done to get the check, and my wife got there while I was in the bathroom. She made a joking comment to him about already asking for money from the eels and not even being married yet, and within the hour, I had an enraged call from Anna, and rightfully so. I argued with my wife about it. It got heated, and I ended up calling her money crazy, and accusing her of valuing the $150 that today cost over our daughter's happiness. She's convinced that them charging us like regular customers is the wrong thing to do. More tough words were exchanged, and I ended up refusing to go to our weekly date night until she sent an apology to Danny. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This is the craziest hill for your wife to die on. Have you talked to her previously about how she values things? Like, why does she try and cheap out on things? Is she feeling guilty about paying more money for some things and then trying to compensate by penny pinching other places? At this point, it really doesn't matter. She's driving away your daughter and there's going to be a reckoning. She can stop now or she can drive her daughter away. Your wife has made it clear that she will continue to treat Carlos and, by extension, her future son-in-law like the help, while simultaneously demanding a family discount at the risk of a relationship with her daughter. She is showing you who she is and how she feels about Danny and his family. This is definitely a hill to die on, OP. She's going to destroy a decades-long business relationship and permanently damage your relationship with your daughter. If I were Anna, I would feel absolutely humiliated to expose her future in-laws to your wife's insanely entitled behavior. Your wife is going to single-handedly destroy your relationship with your daughter's in-laws and potentially alienate you from her future husband and any grandchildren. I would be appalled if my parents behaved this way. Your wife's behavior is just in such poor taste. She's definitely not making your family look good here. I am 7 months pregnant with my first child. The baby is also the first grandchild/nephew of my husband's family, which everyone is excited about. I lost my mother and father to the pandemic, being an only child, so there's not much of my family. Since the death of my parents, 1 year ago, my husband's family has welcomed me with open arms as part of them, and I have become very close to my MIL and SIL. I always wanted to have a gender reveal and I trusted my SIL to organize everything about this. With 3 days to go before the party, I started to receive messages from all my husband's relatives and even close friends congratulating me on my baby being a boy. I went to ask what happened. My SIL confessed that she let it slip to my MIL and she told everyone the sex of the baby after knowing, because she couldn't hold it and it took proportions beyond what they imagined. Nobody called me to tell this. The party was cancelled and I was heartbroken, as well as extremely hurt by the two of them. Usually they accompanied me to the ultrasound, shopping for the baby room, and my MIL would stay at the time of delivery. But after this breach of trust, I stopped inviting them and asked them to respect my boundaries when they pressured me to go. Honestly, I didn't even send them the baby shower invite, because I really avoided contact with them as much as possible. Because everyone knew before me that it was a boy. My husband started complaining that I was pushing them away because of a mistake that could happen and that I was being harsh. Yesterday he brought up this, and when I said that I still didn't feel comfortable with them, he said, "Soon you'll tell me that my mother won't be able to go to the birth." I think my face showed my response, and he started saying I was being too hard on her because she was just excited and blah blah. I had my limit and said, "If you keep pushing me, it won't just be your mother who won't be on my labor. So either stop or you won't come in." He started to say that I was crossing lines and that he had a right to have this moment. I was taking this with them too far. He slept on the couch and doesn't talk to me more than necessary. Am I the idiot? Many are saying it's just a gender reveal. I honestly don't care for that and I think it's tacky, but my mom was the type who likes/love it and she always dreamed of having grandchildren. She said she was made to be a grandmother. She can't meet my son or even know I'm pregnant, so I wanted to do something tacky that I don't care for her, not for me. Everyone knew the importance and the reason. I always wanted to have a gender reveal with my mom there and I didn't have either. Not the idiot. Your husband is a huge idiot for thinking mommy's excitement is a higher priority than the woman who is actually pregnant. It sounds like your husband is using you as a surrogate to give mommy and sissy a new toy. No way should his mother be at the birth. It is your medical procedure and the only priority is keeping you and babe safe and healthy. It is not a dinner theater where your husband is entitled to sell tickets to the show. Not the idiot. He actually does not have the right to be there if you, i.e., the person having the baby, do not want him to be there. Your right to have your baby in peace trumps everything else. One word from you and he would not be allowed in the delivery room by the hospital staff. So, despite his feeling of entitlement, he needs to be more supportive and focused on what you need right now. You are 100% entitled to your feelings, which are 100% valid. However, you've admitted his family has been nothing but good to you. Are you willing to let this one mistake ruin your family? Think about it, discuss with your husband what you need to move past this. Whether that be firmer boundaries, a sincere apology from SIL and MIL. I want to reiterate you are not in the wrong, but sometimes we hold on to things to the detriment of everything else. I, 24, have a 3-year-old son called Cass who is the light of my life. He's a real sweetheart, and if he had it his way he'd be carried around in my arms all day long, plus only put down when we come across a cool bug. He doesn't talk very often. It's something that I was worried about in the beginning because as a young mom I worried about almost everything, but the pediatrician told me that he'll likely become more talkative over time. I'm currently looking into speech therapists just to see if that will help a bit, and we're currently learning sign language too, so Cass can switch to that when he doesn't feel like using his voice. He's such a smart kid, and he's so curious about everything. All he ever wants to do is explore and learn about new things. I'm so proud of him and I love being his mom and getting to see the world through his eyes. My mom, 50, doesn't like the approach I've taken to my son's tendency to not speak very often. There have been a few times where he'll clearly be asking for something, and she'll refuse because he isn't using his voice. It's one of the main reasons why I never ask her to babysit, because it bothers me when she does that and I stop it every time. We were all at a restaurant with my stepdad, 55, my stepbrother, 30, his wife, 30, and their son James, 4. When it came time to order, I read some options out to Cass and he signed yes for the meal he wanted. James spoke to the waiter on his own. When the waiter walked away, my mom got upset with me. She said that because I'm the parent, I need to tell Cass to get over his stubborn attitude about speaking and that his refusal to do so is ridiculous. My stepdad then expressed concerns about the fact that James was saying full sentences by 2 years old, but Cass is 3 and he'd only ever heard him say about 5 words. I told them both that I didn't appreciate them trying to have that conversation with me in front of Cass and at a family lunch, but then my mom said that if Cass had an issue, he should use his voice to tell them that instead of relying on me to do it for him. I ended up flagging the waiter down and asking for my part of the bill and if I could get the food to go, because I didn't think it was fair for my son to have to sit there and listen to them talk about him like he couldn't understand what they were saying. Once I paid and got the food, we went home. My mom texted me later saying that I'm doing my son a disservice by not making him speak, that it was rude of me to leave lunch like that just because I didn't like the way the conversation was going, and that it speaks to my immaturity. Truthfully, if I had pushed him to do it, I know he would have verbalized what he wanted, but he clearly felt more comfortable signing, so I didn't feel the need to do that. Regardless, was it an immature and idiot move to leave like that? Rather ableist of your mom to act like signing isn't speaking. It's called sign language for a reason. And not only is it not constructive to compare the two kids' speech abilities, it's needlessly cruel to do it in front of them. You're exactly right, they're speaking about him like he can't understand. Again, that's also ableist because not speaking is obviously not the same as not hearing and comprehending. Not the idiot, and good for you for setting this boundary. If they can't be polite and respectful of Cass, they shouldn't be around him, to be honest. Pediatric occupational therapist here, introducing alternative speaking, sign, Computer-based speech, even pointing to cards, doesn't delay vocal speech, it just gives the child a chance to express themselves. Using alternative communication devices or signs decreases frustration, tantrums, meltdowns, and even depression in kiddos that otherwise wouldn't have their needs met or thoughts expressed. Not the idiot, kids develop differently. My son was the same way, and now at 14 he won't stop talking. Lol, they say some kids, especially boys, take it all in, and when they start talking it will be sentences. I wouldn't be surprised if he came back with a high IQ, mine did. Have a private conversation with your mother and set the rules. What she is doing is cruel to you and your son. Tell her that if she can't control her comments, then you need to take a break. Explain your concerns about your son are between you and his doctors. Good luck.